For example, you might have heard about cognitive behavior therapy. And in cognitive behavior therapy, they are speaking about cognitive distortions. They say that behavior therapist, cognitive science says that almost in all psychological ailments, including depression, anxiety, the patient or the client will be nurturing some cognitive distortions. These cognitive distortions are wrong attitudes, actually. And a wrong attitude is capable of derailing your psychological balance, actually. And you know that a slight change in the attitude of the person or the client is enough to make him well, or to cure his psychological distress. And you see that if you analyze the person suffering from this depressive disorders, if the counselor or the therapist is capable of giving some slight changes or some positive attitude, if the therapist is capable of installing some positive attitude inside the client, inside the mind of the client, what happens is that there will be huge change in his situation. It has been proven that. And you see that your quality of relationship and your well-being, entire well-being of your life is dependent upon your attitudes. It is a fact. So we may think that attitude is a little thing, but it makes a great difference. A single attitude can interfere with the joy of your life, happiness and well-being of your life, actually. And you know, what about success in your life, whether it is in your relationship, whether it is success in academics, whether it is in success in career, whatever it may be. We know one thing, that success is possible with the help of some process. Only if we are capable or willing to pick up some skills. We have to learn some skills that is necessary to reach at the success, and we have to go through some learning process in order to pick up these skills, and we have to amass information and knowledge, and journey towards the success is tailored in such a way that there will be some failures and setbacks, all that. And in this journey, what helps fundamentally, what helps is your attitude towards the skills that you have to master, your attitude towards the process of learning, your attitude towards the knowledge acquisition and information gathering. All these based on the attitude. If you are having the positive attitude towards the process leading to the success, then only you can succeed in any area of the life, whether it is in your relationship, whether it is in your academics, whatever it may be. So everything is sitting on on your attitude, your possibility of success. That is, attitude is the ticket to success. Without a positive frame of mind, you cannot reach your goal. It matters. And you see that some attitudes, if you are holding on to some attitudes, if I am having some negative attitude towards a group of people who belong to some other religion, for example, I am having a negative attitude or prejudices, I'm nurturing this inside me. What happens is that it will constrict or limit my life experiences. That is, I will avoid such peoples, or I will not go to the functions or events in which these people are involved, and I will not be able to describe or interpret their activities in a positive manner, and I will miss so many opportunities in my life in order to expand my own capabilities. Distortions are wrong attitudes. Yes, prevent us. It is some attitudes. And if we are holding on to some capable of what we say that not so constructive attitudes, it will prevent us from realizing our own potentials and our own possibilities. That is, attitudes have the power to limit your perception, and it will restrict your social life just because of some attitudes. Yes. And some wrong attitude. These are the list of some wrong attitudes. Perfectionism. Some people think that if they are not perfect in their actions, they are likely to be considered as less intellectual or less productive, and they must be perfect. But perfectionism, it is a kind of self abuse. Actually, it is a wrong attitude. If you are a perfectionist, you are nurturing a wrong attitude, and your life and your well-being and joy, your ability to enjoy life will be drained due to this attitude of perfect. And fanatics, they think that other religions are wrong, only my religion is right. And students, some students harbor some wrong attitude towards learning. There are so many students who believe that this learning is for passing the examination. So they need not have any some regular learning habits. They think that they need to learn only 2 or 3 weeks before, just before the examination. This is a kind of wrong attitude that students are having towards the process called learning. And we cannot expect any individual having this kind of attitude, or any student having this kind of attitude to excel in their academics. And some people believe that in the relationship, while they are keeping, yeah, they are in a relationship, there should not be any conflict between the persons involved in relationship. It will impair the quality of the relationship. They firmly believe so regarding the relationship, quality of relationship. But it is wrong. There will be conflicts and there will be difference in opinions while you are in a relation, whether it is a marital relationship, or in a love relationship, whatever it may be, whatever kind of relationship that you are in, there will be difference in opinions, or conflicts will be there. But the success of the relation, quality of the relation, depends upon how you manage the differences, how capable you are for it. So, wrong attitude about the quality of the relation can derail your well-being and your happiness of life, happiness and joy. Some prejudices and superstitions occur in the form of wrong attitudes. And if you take any of your attitude, you can see that attitudes are not just a statement, mere statement, or evaluative statements. Actually, psychology wanted to explain this attitude in terms of components. Several components are included in attitude. There will be emotional component will be there. That is, it will be very strong or very weak, or it will be positive or negative. And there will be cognitive component. That is, you will be having clear statement regarding your attitude. And if you this attitude, whenever you are having that attitude, you will have that tendency to act upon it, act on your attitude. That is, your attitude you take out whenever it is possible. This is a behavioral component of your attitude. I will explain it with the example. Look, ice cream is good. This is my cognitive attitude about the ice cream. Ice cream is good. This is a statement. Ice cream is a good. And when I say that I like ice cream, this is the emotional component of my attitude, actually. And I'm going to eat an ice cream, or I am eating an ice cream, means this is a behavioral component of attitude towards the ice cream. And you see another example, you see this person, this individual is having some resentment, or he is not comfortable with his working place, and he is having some difficulty with his boss. And he says that my pay is low, my supervisor is unfair. This is a cognitive component of his attitude. This he is having some negative attitude towards the authority of the institution.
Based on histopathology
And
and
this saying,
2011
that is the reason is inherent in it. My pay is low and my supervisor
classification was
is
based on
unfair.
clinical findings. So the recent
And what is he
classification
feeling?
combined
What are his feelings?
both
He feels
classification,
angry
which were considered
and he dislikes his supervisor. This is the affective component of his attitude. And what is he going to do? He has started searching for a new job. He wanted to leave the place. He wants to leave the place as soon as possible. This is a behavioral component of his attitude. The one thing that we take into consideration, or we must pay attention to these scenario, is that whenever an employee is having some negative attitude towards the authority, he will be looking or interpreting almost every happenings inside the working place with a negative frame of mind, because this attitude, this wound will be festering inside him, and his cognitions and affective experiences or everything in behavior, everything will be influenced by this particular negative attitude that he is harboring inside him. So attitude of employees matters if you want this development or productivity inside your organization. That is because this attitudes prepares you or predisposes you in order to behave, in order to what we say that respond or act or react towards a particular situation. So it is very much important when you are in a leading position, whether you are a parent, whether you are a teacher, and whether you are a leader in an organization. What is the attitude of your subordinates? What is the attitude of your students? It matters a lot if you want to see the things happening in a right manner around you. So what I wanted to say is that and you know that this baggage of attitudes, this bundle of attitudes, only 10 percentage will be visible. How can we assume that such a particular person or particular group of person is having certain attitudes? Just by looking at their behavior, what they are saying, what they are how they are acting, how they are responding to the various situations, just by looking at it, we can say that this group of people are having this kind of attitude. That means only 10 percentage will be visible to us, because almost all our attitudes lay hidden in the deepest layers of our mind. That is, we as a person, I as a person need not be aware of all attitudes that I have inside me. This is a state of attitude that, but these attitudes which I picked up from the birth to until now, through the life experience, my life with my parents, with my life with my teachers, my life with my friends, all these life experiences might have instilled some attitudes in me. I need not be aware of it, but these attitudes will be having huge impact on my values, on my standards, judgments, and motives, ethics, and everything. But only 10 percentage of it will be visible in our behavior actually. So you know that formation of attitude, I need not be aware how I got certain attitude, how I picked up certain attitude towards some objects or towards some situations. So formation of attitude as well as sustenance or at sustainment of attitude largely takes place without our conscious awareness. We need not be aware. So, if you want to change the attitude of your subordinates or your students or your children, you must have clarity regarding the formation of attitude. Yes, only when you know how certain attitude has been formed, then only you will be equipped or you will be capable of changing those attitudes. You must have at least a clue into the formation of attitude, a particular attitude. So let us look into the scientific explanation regarding the formation of attitude. How attitudes are formed. The one word answer for this question is experience. It is while walking through the experience, we pick up some attitude, for favorable attitude, unfavorable attitude, and like that. Experience is the way in which is the reason operating behind the formation of attitudes. Look, there will be direct experiences. I will be having some direct experiences with the attitude object. That is, whenever we come into contact with an object or contact with a person, if we spend time with a person, suppose you are spending time with a person for the first time. I mean, some time you spent with the person, and you will be knowingly or unknowingly, you will be generating inside you some positive or negative attitude towards the person. That is, direct experiences have the powerful, it can make a powerful influence in the formation of attitudes. And this is the indirect experience, that is, experience with others. I will explain it with an example. For example, Let us go back to the classroom. It is easier to explain the things with the help of classroom, for me especially. In the classroom, it is a mathematics classroom, and teacher gives the students a difficult problem, somewhat difficult problem the teacher is giving, and the student is trying to solve it out, and he is doing writing down the steps. At a particular step, he commits some mistakes, suppose. Then teacher detects the mistakes he made, and teacher ridicules the students for or teases the students for committing the mistakes. And this experience, that is, he behaved in such a manner, and the response from others was negative. That is, the mistakes. He gets some attitude inside. Some attitude gets planted in his mind, in the student's mind, that committing mistakes is a sign of weakness. He will pick up this attitude, and thereafter his attitude towards the failures and setbacks that occur during the learning process will be negative, and he may carry the same attitude towards the failures and setbacks in later life to itself. That is, experiences, when we engage in some behavior, what how others responds to that behavior, others respond to that behavior matters a lot in the formation of attitude. In other words, all the learning principles regarding there are some scientific principle or psychological principles are there regarding learning, that is classical conditioning, instrumental conditioning, modeling, and others. In all these real learning principles are very much applicable in the formation of attitude, because attitudes are learned things. If we are reinforced, if we are rewarded in a particular for a particular behavior, we will be developing a positive attitude towards that behavior. And groups are powerful forces. That is, in order to get entry into a group, you must you must agree with the group's attitudes, or you must subscribe to those attitudes. In other words, for example, you can see that our adolescents, when they mingle with their friends or peers, what happens is that they just accept the attitude of their friends, as they have to accept it, otherwise they will be outside the group. What I'm saying is, group norms and groups attitude have the power to instill or install some attitudes in us. And you see that conditioning, the reward, when we feel joy and happiness while spending with a person, we are likely to develop some kind of positive attitude towards that person. And same is the case with the activities and socialization. These people, that is parents, teachers, coaches, and role models, have the power to install certain attitudes in our mind, and we are helpless in this manner. And familiarity, though the more time we spend with some person or object, suppose that we are spending too much time with a person or situation, whatever it may be, we are likely to develop some positive attitude. That is, familiarity breeds some positive attitude towards the thing or towards the object. And also, you see that culture is a force that influences our attitude formation. We are helpless, but we just form attitudes which is very much compatible with our cultural standards and norms. And the parents have a great influence in the formation of attitude, but the influence of the parents largely wanes as the children, or as your children start thinking for themselves. When they reach adolescence, they learn to think in an independent manner. So influence of the parents reduces in the attitude formation. And you see that whatever be the mode of attitude formation, whatever be the with the factors operating behind the attitude formation of attitude takes place almost in an automatic fashion. You need not be aware about the formation process. And now the next question is, why we form attitude. Attitude serves some functions, actually. Why? This helps us in many ways, this bundle of attitudes that we carry within ourselves. The first one is knowledge function. That is, if we are having some previous attitude, or we are already having some attitude towards an object or situation, we can make use of these attitudes in order to interpret the situation, in order to behave, in order to make decisions in that particular situation. That is, we need not to spend some cognitive energy in order to understand the situation, or in order to make some serious decisions in the situation. That is knowledge function. This is one of the functions that why we form attitudes. And you see that there is a self expression function. Whenever we are having some attitude, it is easier to express ourselves. If you are a teacher, you will be having some attitudes, you would have formed some attitudes regarding your profession, or and your professional life in general. And whenever you are speaking with some audience, it will be easier for to express yourself holding on to those attitudes. And also you see that there is a self-esteem function. For example, an individual is having this attitude that we must be very much generous or altruistic towards our fellow human beings. And he will be making some contribution towards this orphanages, and he will be indulging in some social work also. The purpose is the underlying function of this attitude, this moral standard or moral value, is that it is enhancing his self-esteem. Actually, it might be so. In all cases, it need not be so. But some attitude that we hold on to serve towards ourself, as it enhances our self-esteem. And also it is ego defensive function is there. Some people declare that their attitude openly. For example, in my working place, there is a guy. He declared to everyone that he will not be attending phone calls, because he don't want to communicate anybody through phone. He needs face to face communication. So anybody, if we call him, he will not attend his phone will be there. So it saves him. When he declared openly this attitude of him towards this mobile usage, when he declared about it, what happens is that he has been saved from being interpreted in a wrong manner by his colleagues, actually. So it functions as an ego defensive mechanism also. This is quite an example, just an example. And impression and motivation function. Some attitudes that we hold on to helps us to motivate ourselves and impress others sometimes. For example, I have this attitude towards hard working. That is, without hard work, we cannot attain anything. If I am holding on to this attitude, suppose without hard work, we cannot attain anything. Actually, this attitude is motivating me in order to work forward in any venture, whatever it may be. That is, there is a motivation function for attitudes. Whatever it may be, if you wanted to change the attitude of people around you, you must be able to identify or recognizing which purpose is served by the particular attitude. Your child or your student is having certain attitude, and he is holding it strongly, certain wrong attitude, suppose. And if you wanted to change the attitude, you must be able to distinguish or identify why this person is holding on to particular attitude. There will be clear reason for it, because this attitude will be serving some purpose. Either it will be helping him to maintain his psychological balance, either it will be helping him to avoid his responsibilities, and like that, so many answers you can identify. Anyway, the next question is this: what is the possibility or surety or certainty of the link between attitude and behavior? Is that true, that your attitude always will result or influence your behavior, irrespective of your circumstance? Will your attitude always get translated into behavior? Is there any certainty that your attitude, you will always take out your attitude and express it in your behavior? This is the next question regarding the attitude. And there is a lot of theory and research to answer this question, that is attitude behavior link. You will be taking in all you will be taking into consideration all the aspects of the situation. For example, I am having an for example, I'm having a negative attitude. I hate my boss. I'm having a negative attitude towards the boss for some reason. But Monday morning, when I land in my working place, my boss is standing at the door, and he is gently smiling at me. I have to smile back, no? Yes, I will smile back, though I am having some resentment or bitterness inside me towards him. I will be smiling back because I am taking into consideration the situational factors. Otherwise, I am likely to lose my job if he came to know that I hate him. So you take into consider the situational constraints. You would need not to take out your attitude all on a sudden and act upon it always. And human beings have this general tendency to seek for the situations, seek for the people, seek for the objects, which is very much compatible with our attitudes. That is, I seek for the situations, working places, people, which is very much in sync with my attitudes, my baggage of attitudes. But at the same time, this negative feeling or this resentment that I have towards my boss has been formed due to some emotional lesions. For example, he has made some he has acted towards me in such a way that it was so much painful to me. He has deceived me. That is why I have got this negative attitude. And this attitude, this negative attitude, or this resentment towards my boss is so strong in me. Suppose I hate him like anything. Yes, suppose this it is very strong. My hatred towards this boss. It is possible that I will take it out and exhibit it in my behavior. I will show it my behavior. That is, when he smiles at me, I will not smile back. And when he asks at me, I will not be asking something to me. I will not be answering in a affirmative fashion or in a right manner. That I will take it out. That is the way in which attitudes have been formed, and also the intensity of attitudes also matters, whether you are likely to take or translate your attitudes into behavior. So there is a theory of planned behavior in the science of psychology, actually, that you will be having some attitudes, but there will be subjective norms and perceived behavioral control. Let me explain with a quick example this. A girl wants to pierce her nose and to wear some nose rings. But she is a Christian girl. In Christian families, this wearing of nose ring is not so much encouraged, actually. So there are subjective norms regarding this piercing the nose and wearing nose rings. And here she thinks that whether my father or mother will be in agreement with the idea. That is, she is having some positive attitude towards wearing nose ring. At the same time, she will be taking into consideration whether I can suffer the pain, endure the pain caused by the piercing, this act of piercing the nose causes. There will be some pain. 1 or 2 weeks you have to suffer, go through the process. And she will be thinking about this, whether she has that capability to go through the pain involved in the act. She will be taking these three things. She will be having some attitude, but subjective norms, as well as her perceived behavioral control, whether the things involved in the behavior is within her control. All these things will be taking into consideration. And her intention to enter into the act of piercing the nose depends upon these three factors. If the attitude, she is very much passionate or a very much strong desire is there in order to pierce her nose, she will do it. But these subjective norms and this perceived behavioral control is very low. Suppose her intention to enter into the particular behavior will be very low. This is a theory of planned behavior. That is, human beings, even if they are having some attitudes, need not enter into a behavior based on that attitude. In other words, they need not act upon their attitudes. They engage in some planning process. They plan in their mind whether they must enter into the action, actually. And there is a process model. There might be an event which triggers some attitude in you. For example, in your working place, all people are discussing politics. They are heatedly engaged in some political discussions, political parties, regarding political parties, their stances, and heated arguments are going on there. And this event triggered your political attitude. You will be having some attitude towards certain political parties or the political situation nowadays in our country is in. You will be having some attitude. But the question is whether you will enter into that discussion, political discussion that is going on in your working place. You will be taking into these things together. That is perception of the event. You will be just observing the event. You want to enter into, you wanted to take out your attitude actually, but you just observe the event, what is going on, whether there are some conflicts, whether heated arguments are ending up in some duel, or some this fight is causing due to this heated argument going on in the working place. At the same time, you will be thinking about the warning that is given in your working place that political discussions are not allowed. There will be some norms in your working place actually, and whether you will express your political attitude or not, whether you will enter into a heated argument or discussion, will be depending upon these two factors. This is a behavior process model. And there are so many things. The summary goes like this. That is, several factors will be there which moderate the link between attitude and behavior. Situational constraints human beings take into consideration before entering into a behavior based on the particular attitude. And you always engage in activities, or you are always gravitated towards the situations, towards the persons which allow you to express your attitude, your own attitudes, your personal attitudes. And there are some moderating factors between your attitude and behavior. At the same time, the attitude formation in intensity and specificity of attitudes matters a lot, whether there is this link is likely to come into operation, that is link between attitude and behavior. And attitude influences behavior through several mechanisms. Now, the most pertinent question: what do you want to change the attitude of your children? Bad attitudes or wrong attitudes of your children? Do you want to change the attitudes of your subordinates? Want to change the attitudes of your students? There are ways, because this is a happy news. This is from William James, father of psychology. That is, the greatest discovery of my generation is that human beings can alter his life. You can just alter your life. You can transform your life by altering your attitude, actually. That is why we say that attitude is everything. Changing attitudes. Why should we change attitude? Because we cannot navigate through this life without having some positive attitude inside us. Because life is peppered with so many misfortunes and so many losses, so many, what we say, dejective or depressive incidents. So many unfortunate happenings will be there in life, unacceptable things will be life, but in order to navigate through this life successfully and to enjoy the well-being, you must be a person capable of taking out your potential to create some positive attitudes inside you. Otherwise you can't live, because life is like that. Ups and downs of life, you can beat it. The stress and strains of your life, you can beat it only with the help of some positive attitudes. So it is very important that you must know the ways to change attitudes of yourself as well as your fellow human beings. And science says that there are two effective ways, scientifically proven ways to change attitude. One is persuasive communication, the other is cognitive dissonance. These are the most effective methods. And you might be familiar with this word, that is persuasion. Persuasion means your ability. It is a process actually. Persuade, you persuade somebody to agree with an position or agree with a message, agree with your stance. How will you persuade a person? How you are going to persuade? You will be saying something to him. What you are communicating with the purpose of persuading a person must appeal to his intellectual capacity or rational thinking process, as well as must be appealing to his emotions. Then only you will be successful in the act of persuading. Okay, this is a best tool for attitude change. Persuade. But success of persuasion depends upon who says, who you are. You can see that, so some students readily obeys what teachers say, especially young students, or I mean the students in fourth or fifth standards. They will be readily obeying what their teacher says, but the same thing when their parents say, they will not obey. That is, who says, who is communicating, who is persuading matters a lot. And what the words, sentences, or messages, or the way in which you communicate matters a lot, whether the person at the other end is likely to get persuaded or not. And to whom, that is the person, the receiver, is capable of receiving the message that you are giving. And so many factors are important while considering the persuasive communication. So let us go deep into this the mechanism behind this persuasive communication. That is, in a persuasive communication, you can see that there are three components or three things are involved. The first one is persuader. It might be a teacher, it might be a friend, it might be a leader, or it may be motivational speaker, might be persuader. And he will be giving some message or information. And there will be a person or group of person at the receiving end of this message or communication. So, regarding these things, success of persuasive communication depends upon the characteristics of these three things or these three aspects, that is, the persuader, the message, and the receiver. Regarding the persuader, status of the persuader matters a lot. That is, who is saying. While Amitabh Bachchan and what is Shah Rukh Khan is giving some message, it will be important to the receiver. But the same message, if the neighbor is providing, it will not feel important to the receiver or listener. And popularity means, that is why we hire celebrities in order to spread some serious messages among society, in our society actually. And credibility matters. That is, if the audience or the listeners see that you are credible, you have enough credentials. That is why you are. If there's some people are listening to me now because they know that I am credible, because I have some degree in psychology, and they think that whatever I am saying, that they can believe. That credibility, element of credibility is there. And social background also matters. And regarding the message, with the purpose of changing the attitude of your students, for example, with the purpose of changing the attitude of your students, You are approaching with some kind of message or some kind of information, whatever it may be. But how you shape this message, craft this message matters a lot. That is, accuracy should be there. The listener must feel that this message is accurate, real. It must fit into their rational thinking capacity. And you must convey it with some confidence, with some element of confidence and enthusiasm. And clarity should be there. Listener should not feel some ambiguity in the message, and it must be appealing to their intellectual capacity. It must fit into their logical thinking. Not only that, it must your message must be capable of making some reverberations in the emotional realm of the listener. That you must be capable of touching the emotions of your listener. Yes, in order to make a change in their attitude, it is highly important actually. And you see that the receiver, you must check whether the receiver is, are they capable of receiving your message, their intellectual capacity, their educational background, and their beliefs. Some people or some group of people will be having some strong beliefs or strong attitudes, their own attitudes, and you wanted to change their attitude. Before that, you must check the strength of their attitude. All these factors are involved. If the attitude of the person is very strong, you any kind of message will not be helpful in changing the attitude. So many factors are involved in persuasive communication. If you pay attention to all these factors, it is definite that you can change the attitude of your students, your subordinates, and what it may be. And say that this is the one clue or one formula I can put forward. That is, whenever a message is important or not interesting or uninteresting, as human beings, all of us, we process it in a heuristic manner. That is, processing of information will be taking at the surface level only. In-depth processing will not be happening when the message is unimportant and uninteresting. So in that case, there is low chance for change in attitude. But at the same time, if the message is highly important and interesting, you are delivering it in a very interesting manner, means the listener will be taking it into a systematic processing. That is, he will be weighing the pros and cons of the message. He will be analyzing the message, and he will be comparing the message with his previous knowledge in this field, and he will be taking the message through a systematic processing, means in-depth processing. All his cognitive capacities or cognitive skills will be very much active while processing the message. So there is higher chance for this attitude change. So, if you are making use of persuasive communication as a tool for changing the attitude of your subordinate or students, whoever it may be, you must aim at systematic processing. The person who is listening to your message must undergo systematic processing of the information that you provide. That is a point. So, the question is, what are the factors that affect or promises systematic processing? These are the factors. If your message is accurate, there is even enough evidence for the accuracy. There is scientific support for your message. The listener will take it into a systematic processing. And if your message is impressive, that is, it touches the emotions of the listener, and he is just shaken by your message, he will take it into a systematic processing. And if your message contains some element of fear, suppose, for example, this personalities in the motor vehicle department, while they are spreading message about the road safety, they contain they they conduct these training classes with the help of messages or information, which includes some fear element. They will be exhibiting the data of this accidents that took place, road accidents that took place, and they will be showing some accident scenes to the audience. That is, they wanted to create some element of fear in the audience, so that they will process the message seriously. Systematic processing will be there. And some other examples, so many examples you can see that in the HIV awareness programs, they make use of fear element. So the listener will be in a defensive mode. So in that mode, they process the information. Otherwise, when the message is uninteresting and not so motivated, not so capable of motivating the listener, means they are not going to process the information or message properly. And the next effective tool is cognitive dissonance. You see that the final tool, I will say, we are coming to the end of this presentation. Cognitive dissonance means, as human beings, we have this thing inside all of us. That is, we like to be consistent. That is, we want to experience some degree of compatibility between what we do and what we feel, between what we do and what we believe. That is, we want to experience some sort of balance among our feelings, thoughts, attitudes, and our behavior, and all that. Whenever our attitude is not in match with our behavior, or particular attitudes that we are holding on to is not making us happy, or we are struggling due to that attitude, that particular attitude, we will be feeling uncomfortable, we will be unhappy somehow. I will be putting the examples for that. Then we will be prompted or motivated to reduce that discomfort. That is, we are in a state of, whenever we are in a cognitive dissonance, this cognitive dissonance comes when our attitude does not match with our behavior, or when our attitude does not match with our emotional well-being. This dissonance is there. So we can make use of we whenever there is cognitive dissonance, we will be ready to change our, either our behavior or our attitude, because we want to have some psychological balance inside us. Cognitive dissonance is a state of imbalance, actually. So if, as a person, you are capable of creating some kind of dissonance, or you are capable of pointing out the existing dissonance in a person, you can change his attitude. That is, any dissonance that is existing among these three factors, that is affective component, behavioral component, and cognitive component of attitudes, if you are capable of revealing it, the person will be ready to change their attitude. Because any kind of inconsistency that we are feeling within ourselves is an unpleasant experience altogether. And this unpleasantness, if you are capable of creating inside an individual for the purpose of changing his attitude, they will be compelled as a person to change their attitude. For example, I can is the this because this is the evidence that cognitive dissonance can help in changing the attitude, creating cognitive dissonance in the individuals. For example, this is an example. Daughter thinks that non-vegetarian food is enough. She is fond of meat. She hates vegetables, and she is not willing to eat even the basic vegetables that body needs, actually. But she has passion for badminton. She is very much active in sports at the same time. So father decided to create some cognitive dissonance in her attitude towards this non-vegetarian food. What did father do? Father collected some studies, conducted in sports, scientific studies conducted in sports psychology, and which deals with the food habits of successful sports personalities. Yes. And father showed these results of these studies, the huge data regarding the food habits of the successful personalities in sports. What happens? This created some sort of cognitive dissonance. That is, she is having some attitude towards her food habits. That is, non-vegetarian is enough. But at the same time, she is having some passion towards this sports. But it is impossible with the help of her attitude. It is impossible to reach her dream or accomplish her dream. With the help of these studies, father succeeded in creating a cognitive dissonance, and she was willing to change her attitude, and she gradually learned to consume vegetables actually. And no, you know that youth believes that regular learning is not important. A student firmly believes that regular learning is not important in order to succeed in the examination or score high marks in the examination. But he was taken into a group of people which included people who scored high, or rank holders, included rank holders. And he was made to sit in that group and interview with those people who come out successfully. And these people who were rank holders, they related to this student about their study habits, and that was enough to beat his assumption or wrong attitude regarding regular learning study habit. A man is religious and married. He is religious and he supports the, what we call this, moral values and ethics, and he's married. And but after some time, somehow he fell in love with his colleague in his office. Means that there came up some kind of dissonance. And how he resolved this dissonance or discomfort, not through the divorce, don't think like that. And he was ready to move away from the relationship and to live with his attitude, that is to that is changes he changed his behavior and tried to get along with attitude. These are some of the examples for the cognitive disorder. If you are capable of pointing out or adding new information or pointing out this dissonance or discrepancy existing inside the individual who are holding on to certain wrong attitudes, you can create a situation where the individual has no option but change their own attitudes. But you must work towards it actually. And there are some other methods to bring attitude change. The first one is providing information. If you are providing adequate information which contradicts the attitude somebody is harboring, means that the person will be ready to change their attitude. And you can make use of this fear element, as I mentioned earlier, in the case of road safety training classes, and resolving discrepancies. For example, let me point out a simple example. One day, a lady came to my clinic, and her problem was this, that she cannot enjoy her relationship with her husband. That is, she is 6 months into her marriage, and I asked the details of her problem, and I couldn't figure out what is going wrong, because everything is nice happening, everything is nice. The husband is good, father-in-law, mother-in-law, a good family, and financial situation, it is okay. And what is wrong? What I could detect was that the reason was a wrong attitude that this girl was holding on to. She thought that she had this attitude that she is not free to express her opinions or his own viewpoints openly, especially those viewpoints which contradicts the husband's viewpoints, because she feared that it will impair the quality of relationship. Yes, this was her attitude regarding the relationship, and she feel almost choked, because she don't know, she is not having freedom in this new situation in which she is, that is in her husband's house. He is not having enough space to express her feelings, her thoughts, and all that. And it is very, very much suffocating her. So, what she lacks is conflict management skills. How to this difference in opinions, difference in viewpoints must be managed. She does not know anything about it. I had to give her some lessons in this regard. Anyway, she came out successfully. Now she is happy, almost happy, and getting along with her newly married life. That is, resolving discrepancies can can change attitude and influence of friends and peers. That is, you can make use of friends and peers of your students, or what your children, in order to change the attitude of your student, particular student, or your child also. And the communication is a powerful tool, but we must take into consideration the things that we discussed. That is, the elements that help in persuasive communication. And the society is the best an example. Or if the society, so many members of the society is subscribing it to some attitudes or some viewpoints, means that this particular person will be compelled to change his own attitudes. That is, in a group, 8 people are subscribing to certain attitude or viewpoints. The ninth person will be compelled to subscribe or get along with that attitude or accept that attitude. And inducing fear in order to change the attitude, some attitudes, wrong attitudes, is very much influential, especially in dealing with the bad habits, that such as cigarette smoking and condom usage, drinking and driving. We make use of fear element in order to change the attitude. And good feelings also, if you are capable of providing people a good feeling, a positive feeling with regard to something, some situation, some people, some objects, they are likely to generate a positive towards this object or person or situation itself. That is, if we are feeling positive in a particular situation, in general, we generate some positive attitude unknowingly inside ourselves towards that situation. And these are the some barriers. That is, if you are having some commitment, for example, you are very much committed to some political organization, and it will be difficult, and if your commitment is so strong towards some organization, even that organization is having some wrong attitude, it will be difficult for you to change your attitude. That is, commitment works as a barrier to change your attitude. And publicly expressed attitudes are difficult to change. Suppose I have expressed publicly that I'm a feminist, and I have written articles on it, I have conducted speeches on it, feminism. And one morning I wanted to change myself, suppose, and or some other friends wanted to change me, it will be difficult because I have already made a public image of myself. Then it will be nearly impossible to change that attitude. And low credibility is there. That is, regarding the attitudinal change, or the person who is approaching you is not credible, the attitude change will not be possible. And the information that you give, that you are asking a person to change his particular attitude, but the information that you give is not adequate or complete, or there is no clarity regarding the information that you give to the person in order to change his attitude, that means it becomes barrier. And insufficient information and a degree of fear also, because a positive attitude is important. As I mentioned, if you wanted to navigate through this life in a proper manner, in a healthy manner, you must be capable of generating some positive attitude, that you can see that the whole world, if it is the way, it is a positive attitude. With a positive attitude, you wake up in the morning with a positive attitude, means that you will look at the world as if the entire world is a garden. And you see that only if you have some positive attitude in you, there will be some positive thinking, constructive thinking, creative thinking, expectation of success, optimism, motivation to accomplish your goal, being inspired. There is a list of things given here. That's all these things are, are all these things matters a lot in determining your success in life, your well-being, your mental health. All these things are determined by this, that is expectation of success, optimism, motivation to accomplish your goal. All these things are possible only if you have some positive frame of mind. And developing positive attitude, these are the ways for it. Choose to be happy. Happiness is the way. And look at the bright side of life in order to have some positive attitude. Choose to be and stay optimistic always. Make optimism a habit of your life. Find reasons to smile more often. Have faith in yourself, in power of the universe, and contemplate upon the futility of negative thinking. Negative thinking is always a redundancy. What we say that it is not needed actually, because there is always silver line somewhere waiting for us. Associate yourself with happy people. Read inspiring stories. Read inspiring quotes. Repeat affirmations. Visualize only what you want to happen. Don't visualize what you do not want to happen. And these little things, learn to master your thoughts, have control of your thoughts, practice mindfulness, learn concentration and meditation. These little things will help you a lot in generating a positive frame of mind, and will help you to look at life with a positive attitude. You know that this is the difference between a good day and a bad day. The only difference is your attitude. How you look at your day determines how you are going to experience it in a positive or negative manner. And you see that a bad attitude, if you are having some destructive attitude, not so constructive attitude, it is like a flat tire. You can't go anywhere till you change it. You will be there. You can't move ahead in your life. In any area of your life, you will not be capable of moving ahead if you are having some bad attitude. And I repeat, attitude is everything. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here to listen to this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you,
Yes.
ma'am, for so much wonderful